Okay, going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Commissioner Christian is going to lead us in invocation and pledge.
We all stand and bow our heads, please. Tonight we say thank you, God, for just a wonderful opportunity, God, to live in a great city. We thank you, God, for our mayor, our city council, our management staff, all of the city employees. Thank you for the great residents that make up our wonderful city. Tonight we pray, God, that you grant us wisdom and understanding, that you will let us be compassionate. The decisions we make that benefits, God, our citizens here in Leesburg, those who visit. On this July, we pray and we thank you for living in a country that's free and independent. God, we thank you, God, for being able, God, to just exercise so many religious freedoms, so many social freedoms that this country affords us. We thank you for the men and women around the world that are fighting for these freedoms. We thank you for our public service, God, who allow our neighborhoods to remain safe and protect us. Thank you, God, for all that you bless us with. We're now careful to give you praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have no proclamations or presentations, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commissioner or staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. 1, pull the item from the consent agenda. 2, vote on remaining items with 1 roll call vote. 3, discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Have any items that we need to pull?
None for me.
None for me.
Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I've got.
You got one?
Yeah, I've got 4B2, and then you asked that we pull. Or no, that's not on consent.
Yeah, when we get to the,
that's not on consent,
it's the
though, is it?
ordinance, the public
Okay, so
hearing.
just,
and the
4B2, that's it.
4B2.
Yeah.
So Mayor, we actually approve all items with the exception of 4B2.
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Mayor Roebuck?
Yes. 4B2, if someone will introduce.
I'll introduce, has to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a construction services agreement with Broadway Contracting for the LMSC restroom renovation for an amount not to exceed $140,000 and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
And the reason I pulled it, and I know we've had discussions about it before, but for me, I don't know, looking at the number, and it basically, this allows public access to the restrooms where we have buildings. Planning and zoning,
building, and
IT.
And purchasing is back there, too.
And as I got to thinking about it, I just don't know what utility that really gets us. I mean, it'd be for big events, we still have to have porta potties. One restroom isn't going to do it. For the market, it's such that I don't know that people are there long enough. And just thinking about it, my one concern was, well, if you're downtown shopping, you can use the restroom of the stores you're shopping at. If not, we do have one restroom downtown public already. And are we maybe just building a restroom that might increase some of the issues we have with some of the vagrant issues? So who's going to use the restroom?
I have a question on the market thing. And, that's done by the partnership, and I know they're not doing it this summer. Mayor, do you know what the plan is long term on that? Again, I just glanced around. I didn't see anybody from the partnership here tonight.
Well, in the minutes of the Downtown Business Association, it just said no summer months. They didn't say they were going to continue. They said no summer months.
Yeah.
In the minutes.
But then I had somebody, and I don't want to start rumors or anything, but then I had somebody that's one of the participants in the market that said something about that they were maybe a minor participant in the market that said that they weren't, but I don't know if they have the real word or not.
I know it's a big money loser all year long, and then the other part is we have this talk, which we still haven't gotten a plan, so I think it's very premature, about closing some streets back there.
I was going to bring that up.
And that maybe there would be markets back there, and this could be the right place, but maybe it's not. And I just
Well, can we say more about that? Because I mean that's something that I brought up I think what you're talking about is the closing of Market Street, and that's something I brought up some time ago, and I think now there's a developer downtown that wants to do that, kind of like what Beacon College is doing, which I like that idea, create more, the green space, the concept down there. Is that something that's being seriously talked about, or how would that fit with
I'm going to
doing-
say no, it's not being seriously talked about. On the commission's agenda is to discuss the link to downtown, or I'm sorry, from downtown to Venetian Gardens, which I think is an important link. And I think the commission ultimately can come back to Market Street. I think it's a good concept too. I would prioritize the link to Venetian Gardens first. I had a meeting scheduled with Mr. Frost. He was a no-show. So I will try to get back in touch with Mr. Frost and try to get more information. I really don't have any details, what he wants to do, how he's proposing to do it, those type of things. So we need to have that preliminary conversation.
How much do you think that this contract would, I know you can't say for sure if it would fluctuate if we waited a few more months or something to...
I think you can probably reasonably wait. I think if you do a Market Street type concept, I actually think that helps the concept of having a public restroom there. The concept I think that we discussed was that the restroom will be open for events only, so it won't be one of those that's constantly open to the public. And part of that was just when we have events, we have a restroom facility that's nearby to downtown. We don't have the porta pots that are sitting in the alleyway all the time, and it's a way to provide a service and try to clean up and keep the area clean.
And I
That's
agree.
the concept.
We have
behind it.
a nice downtown, and it's right there at Town Square. And whether it's the market or a bigger event like the Bike Fest or Christmas thing, there's always something, and you can't go to other people's and use other people's restrooms when that's going on. And it's downtown, and porta potties right there. It's
And I think we have dual issues there. We have it, not to beat up on the partnership, but they also keep all their trash cans in that alley. So this is part of trying to get Market Street cleaned up a little bit too, because I think the next request will be to have the partnership remove those trash cans, so we have a neater, cleaner.
Where would they put them at?
We'll house them somewhere for them.
Can we do that now?
We could do that now too.
And I guess my concern is that should we just wait and see what happens on Market Street before we do the bathrooms? Because if you think about it, if you're on Main Street, I don't see people walking a block or 2 blocks almost use the bathroom. So if I'm not at the market right there in front of Town Square, if I'm down the street, I'm not going to walk to this public bathroom. There's one there, and if I'm down there shopping, I'm probably going to go to a bathroom. And I think we have 5 or 6 events, and I just don't see people walking this far just to go to the bathroom. If you got Market Street, things that happen right there, that's different, but I just don't see.
they definitely get used on Saturdays, every Saturday.
When the market's there, or just
Yeah, well,
Saturday?
when the market's there, and you have food truck and movie night down there, and
I would just feel better if I knew what was going to happen. Do we know there's going to be a market? Because if there's not going to be a market, well, that takes away a big thing, and then you do have the food truck and flick, but.
DC just whispered in my ear, and I didn't know this, but the project is split. I think it's $140,000 total. 85,000 of that is opening up the existing bathrooms. The remainder of that is renovating it. So if you want to step it and just open it up to the public,
How you got it?
did I get it wrong?
You got it backwards. 85,000 is to renovate the bathrooms, creating the entry and partitioning and securing the rest of the building is the 45,000. So you could open the restrooms that are there now currently without any renovation to the restrooms for about $45,000.
So you can reduce.
Provided the contractor is willing to go ahead and execute the contract.
but then
Do I have
it's
ADA
open.
issues then?
Well, there are some non-compliance issues, but if you don't go in and actually begin, if you don't go touch the bathroom, then you're not obligated to upgrade to the current standard.
And so we have 2 doors that's gonna lead into the bathrooms, regular, 36-inch doors? And so I guess I'm a visitor to Leesburg, how would I know there's a bathroom in there? I mean,
Well, for the 45,000, you create an entrance that'll be from Fifth Street, that will have public restroom signage.
on Fifth Street.
It'll lead into a hallway, and the only thing in there are the restrooms.
But it's only a public restroom sometimes when we have events.
Yes, that would be the concept.
That would be a policy issue that's up to, I mean, it can be open the same as all the other public restrooms, or open only on special events, however you wanted to manage it.
Can you put it on the wall? Do you see, I'm just looking at the planning and zoning area. That's not what I see. You got the same thing?
I can't see that.
That's what got. Okay, so this wall. So planning is on where's the entrance way? Planning is on it says up to the top.
So this is the public entrance here. You'll come down, there will be a handicap ramp there. The area up here is where we will close off. That leads back into the office space, the planning and zoning, purchasing, back through there. IT is through this door here, or actually it's GIS, but there's a $10,000 additive to secure this better. Right now it's just glass storefront door, so we're going to put a little more secure door there. But the part, this renovation in here is 85 of the 140, and that brings these bathrooms up to the current ADA standards. If we don't go in and modify them at all, just leave them the way they are, then we're not obligated to upgrade them until we go in and do some renovations.
Well, I think the bathroom off Town Square is a good idea to have it, and rather than have porta potties out there. And as frequent use as we've had, I mean, it gets a lot of use at Town Square. And even if, and hopefully, if the market's not going to change, and that's probably something. This all ties back into the partnership and the not-for-profit monies we give and how we work with the partnership and so forth too. So those are other issues. But I hope those events continue one way or the other, and that the partner, I understand the partnership, that's where they lose money, and that's where that benefit comes in, that for the city to have to contribute some money to the partnership every year, we do get the benefit of these continued events. And so one of the things that that we've talked about a little bit is to do a contract with the partnership that they will do those events, and so one way or another, I hope those things continue and there's an active use of downtown and Town Square. And if there is going to be, then I think I think that's more reason for these bathrooms there.
I would like to add, my recommendation is to renovate the bathrooms. They are in bad shape. We need to fix them. Right now, the bathrooms on 3rd Street are actually better than these. So
you're saying fix them up for staff use or fix them up for public?
for public use primarily, but they will remain staff restrooms as well.
Okay. Well, you can have some extra cleaning, I hope, without it had to be a staff person, and then you got the whole public coming in to use the same bathroom and can't decipher who's using it. I need some more bathrooms in there, man. I know it.
We have the money budgeted. We put this in the budget to do this.
I think we were 40 grand short. Brittany, where were we getting the 40?
There was money left in the splash pad, but it's all just
So
cash.
it's-
So it's coming out of extra splash pad.
I think we had 125,
We had 125 left over. from
25
splash pad.
budgeted, and then the
one-
extra.
And that's after we've done the repairs and things that we've done at the splash pad too, so.
All done.
And I'm going to just say this on the record. It seems to me that when we get in certain CRAs, we spend money from other areas. This should really be a CRA project. It's in the middle of the CRA. So just want to just put that on there. We find money from other areas when it comes to CRA, but I think it should be a CRA
We got the
project.
CRA money.
I would agree with this being a CRA project. I mean, that's the type of thing, it's going to benefit one specific area, which I think is worth benefiting, but.
We have close to 600 in the downtown CRA, so we can fund this project with these monies. My recommendation, though, is if we were prioritizing the connector to Venetian Gardens, then hold that money back to do that project.
We're gonna talk about that tonight.
And you're going to end up flipping it. It would be my guess is if we're committed to the downtown project, but you want to fund this from the CRA, what ultimately is going to happen is you're going to be $100,000 short in the CRA because you did this, and then the cash from the general fund that you were going to do that, it's a shell game. So however you want to do it.
What about funding the overage from the CRA?
We can do that too. You just nip that 35 grand or whatever it is. It's 140. We were at 25, so there's 15.
Well, I don't think this is a bad project in addition to downtown, and if Market Street's done, I think it'll fit anyway. You know, it costs money to do it, but this could you spend it somewhere else? Probably find somewhere else to spend the money, but I don't think this is a project you look at and say, well, it doesn't serve a purpose at all. We don't need to do it. I think it's a benefit.
Any other comments? Comments from the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Christian?
No.
Commissioner Hurley?
No.
Commissioner Dennison?
No.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Mayor Robuck?
No. That's it for our consent agenda. So now onto our routine items and public hearings. 5A, if someone would like to introduce.
I'll introduce that. Be read by title only.
Ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, correcting a scrivener's error in the legal description of Ordinance 15-50, which said ordinance did annex certain real property consisting of approximately 104 acres, being generally located on the north side of Morningside Drive and east of Silver Lake Drive, lying in Section 1, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, providing for a corrected legal description and providing an effective date.
For approval?
Second. Discussion. Do we have someone from the developer here?
Is anyone? No, but after first reading, we did, on a staff level, go back to make sure everything as presented at first reading was correct, and it is. There is no connection to Silver Lake. We went back, we checked the minutes. So what's in your packets now is the true reflection of how it was annexed and proposed to develop. So it was truly a scrivener's error, and the correction in the packet is correct.
But I asked for someone to be here to discuss the project in general at the last meeting. And my whole reason is
And they're not.
the original developer has not done what they said they were going to do out there. They have not maintained the property. They claimed they were definitely going to build. Now, then a month later, they put it up for sale. Now they maybe have sold it.
Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning Manager. The gentleman who's going to be bringing a project before you in the next couple of weeks is here tonight. He's here for a different project, but yes, the property have you closed yet, Rick? The closing is scheduled soon. The previous zoning out there was for 150 homes, and I think it was 83 townhomes, and he's bringing something back with strictly single-family homes. We expect that would be well received by the area, unlike the previous project. And Mr. Rick Wolfarth is here. He will be bringing that before you shortly. Planning Commission on July 19, actually.
I have no problem with that. My problem is with
The current.
the current, and I don't, another thing that I don't like, and we've had a history of doing this in Leesburg, is we annex in all but the most expensive pieces of property, which we leave in the county. So in this case, we did, and as a commission, we agreed not to annex in the most expensive pieces and leave them out in the county. But we do have one little piece touching down there, and the original plans were that the entrance was going to be off Morningside, and is that changing on the new plans?
No, that's not changing. The entrance will still be on Morningside.
Okay. So
This, what's before you tonight, just takes out 5 lots that were annexed incorrectly because I picked up the wrong legal description when I was putting together the agenda memo.
I guess my opinion is I don't want to do any favors for the current developer because I fought hard to get this done.
Yes, sir.
Over a lot of opposition, and he broke a lot of promises. So
And,
until when property changes hands, then I'll
Understood.
probably have a different opinion. But
okay.
that's where I'm. Any other comments? Comments from the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Robuck?
No. Okay, on to 5B, if someone would like to introduce.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, rezoning approximately 18.74 acres from R3 PDO Planned Development Overlay to R3 PDO Planned Development Overlay to change the permitted use from townhouses to single-family homes for a property located north of U.S. Highway 441, west of North Lake Avenue and north of Fernery Lane, as legally described in Section 24, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion? Comments from the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Mayor Robuck?
Yes. 5C, I believe this is the one that we
Yeah.
need to table while we wait.
Yeah, if I could just give you a brief update, if you go ahead and move on this item and open the public hearing and then table it so we don't have an advertising issue. Essentially what this project did was we were clearing an easement for the owners of this house, and they're in the process of selling the house. However, in so doing, when we vacate the easement, there's a pool that's located extremely close to that easement. So we just have some concern because we have some utilities in the easement that we're vacating. And if we go in there, we work on the utilities, or something happens, we're concerned about the pool collapsing. So we got back with the owners and basically said, look, we'll propose to the commission to vacate the easement if you sign a hold harmless agreement. They agreed to. Fred wrote up the hold harmless agreement. They have yet to sign it. They said it's an administrative thing. Their partner is in Moscow, not to return for a couple more weeks. So we think it's best not to approve the ordinance until they execute the hold harmless agreement. So I would ask that you open the public hearing, table it, and when we get this signed, then we can reopen it and close the easement.
Someone like to introduce?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, vacating a 38-square-foot section of easement consisting of an area approximately 1 foot wide by 38 feet long. Said property generally located on Lot 16, Live Oak Ridge, as recorded in Plat Book 13, page 24 of the Public Records of Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Yeah, but we have to
Officially
discuss.
open the public
Yeah,
hearing
okay.
and then
All
table it.
right. Any comments from the commission? Comments from the public? Anyone like to make another motion?
Move to table.
Second.
Comments on the motion to table? Comments from the
Does it
public?
need to be date certain?
Probably ought to be.
if you table it till July 23rd.
Until July 23rd.
So sorry, there's one more question. So you have utilities in the easement?
Yes.
Okay. So can we get a map next time? Just kind of show us what the utilities are?
Yep.
All right.
A roll call?
Commissioner Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Mayor Robert?
Yes. Okay, 5D. Someone like to introduce?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, extending the expiration date set by ordinance number 00-29 and later extended to September 30th, 2003, then extended again to September 30th, 2006, and then extended again to September 30th, 2009, then extended again to September 30th, 2012, then extended once more to September 30th, 2015, extended once more to September 30th, 2018, for the participation by the City of Leesburg in the Municipal Service Taxing Unit established by Lake County to fund ambulance and emergency medical services and providing an effective date.
Move for approval. Oh, sorry, first reading.
Okay, that will roll over. Any comments from the commission? Comments from the public? That'll roll over to our next meeting. 5E. Someone like to introduce?
I'll introduce that to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, relating to the provision of fire protection services, facilities, and programs in the City of Leesburg, Florida, imposing fire protection assessments against assessed property located within the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, approving the rate of assessment, approving the assessment roll, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Comments from the commission?
Yeah, I'll just add one. So this is our fire assessment approval, and yeah, you know, I'm not saying that I would agree to increase our fire assessment rate, and I'm sure that others would be greatly opposed to it. But you know, when you look at other cities around us, their fire assessments are higher, and some much higher than ours. And if we were to not even have a fire department and the county took it over, I think their county rate right now is 150.
77.
How much?
177 is the residential rate.
177, and ours is 58. If you look at Mount Dora, who has a utility, their own utility company, and maybe most similarly situated to us, having a utility company, a fire department, and everything. I'm not sure what theirs is, but theirs is significantly higher as well over there. Chief, that wasn't a comment to get rid of the fire department. I saw you poke your head in there. I was just making the comment that if we didn't have a fire department in Leesburg and the county took it over, homeowners would see a $120 increase in their fire assessment. And I'm not saying by far to raise it to that level, and I know we've got money in our in reserve. We got a lot, but we've got a lot of projects going on, and I think the city's going in a great direction with the projects that we're doing, and the money that's being spent. But the money's going to be gone. We're also using what I believe is, I call it legacy money, in order to do those projects, which I think would be better served to not be using that money for those things, or the money's necessarily from the Village's property or the dark fiber, and I think that we could be still fair to our citizens and compared to our the communities that are around us, and have some increase in the fire assessment too. That would will leave more money in our general funds. But that's how I feel about it.
And I don't think we should raise it just for the fact that surrounding cities and towns have a higher rate. If we're getting by with the $57 per household in Leesburg, and we're not being negatively affected, why raise taxes when we don't need them?
But we're doing some great projects, but when I drive
agree.
about Leesburg, we're being negatively affected.
Well, I'm kind of disappointed with $58, so, you know, I don't think raising the fire assessment fee, I think we have a great fire department. I think even when we did the $58, I cringed on even instituting the fire assessment fee, but I do understand the county charges more. That's why I'm glad I'm in the city of Leesburg, you know, so I mean, the projects are great, but I think we've done a really good job. Just sharing with my wife, I looked at Leesburg and I said, you know, we have sprinkled great projects throughout our entire city, from Mount Clair, Carver Heights, the Venetian Gardens, Body Mall. I think we spread wealth around the entire city and did great projects. So I know a lot of things we got coming up, but I think the fire assessment fee is, for me, I love to see $58 compared to the county.
And I think also the one that gets me isn't the $58. I mean, of course, I post the whole thing, but the 6 cents per square foot on commercial is, I mean, it's a killer for businesses. I mean, I forget what the mall's fee is, but it's, you know, it's a very large number, and you know, so you got businesses, some of them paying several $1,000s. So, and if you raise the residential, you got to raise that too. My understanding is, and so I think that is a.
And the church facilities that are not wholly taxed church, we get hit too. So
Yeah, you're hitting on that. You're probably hitting on the institutional. Some of them are. And it's really 9 cents.
Like I said, I didn't expect anybody to agree, and I wasn't saying that we, you know, just to say a little more. I mean, you know, we have projects that we're doing. We have money allocated to do those projects. We have more projects that we want to do, that various of us have, that we'd like to do in the city, but for the next commission and the commission down the road 10 years from now, they're not going to have that money, and because we're spending it all right now, and I don't think that that's totally appropriate for us to take all the money that is being generated from the villages and being generated from the fiber, and we spend it ourselves. And I think the projects that we're doing are good, but I think it's unfair that we take all that money and we spend it, so then you're going to force on other commissions down the road, 10 years down the road, that, hey, they're the ones that are either going to have to decide, hey, we don't have any money to do projects because the commission in 2018 spent all the money, or that they're going to be the ones that are going to have to do that. And so I think there's a balance. I'm not saying to go out there and to do it, but I think in the balance of not just 2018, but the future of Leesburg, that there should be some consideration given to that. So, but that's my.
They made 10 years say we got 4,000 houses, we got 2 million square foot of new commercial property, and we got these ad valorem tax that they didn't have in 2018. Because of that decision, now we have a reoccurring dollar that's coming in. So I think you look at it kind of both ways.
I hope that those things happen, and I assume they're going to happen. I mean, we're moving towards the closing, but there's nothing in that contract that says that 3,000 homes are going to be built, or when they're going to be built. There's nothing that says that next year the economy's not going to tank and that it's going to be 10 years before those houses get built. So there's no guarantee in those things.
Well, I was here for 7 to 2000. I was sitting back there in 2000, and they talked about the industrial plant was going to come on 470. Then we went to the aeronautical technology plant. Then we went to another industrial plant. Now we're at housing. So no, it's not a guarantee, but I think the decision we're making, if the economy stays where it is, and I think nobody can guarantee, but I think the villages have proved to be a very good partner throughout Lake County, something in Marion County. So,
but they only build as long as people are buying houses, and we don't know. You don't know what's going to happen next year.
no.
So.
We're also not borrowing money like has been done in other cities in the past. So at least future commissions aren't going to have to deal with paying for our stuff. You know, the money might be gone, but the bills won't be coming in for them, which I think that's, you know, even though I don't always agree with everything that we spend, I am happy that we're doing it out of cash and not out of taking on debt, hoping that the houses get built and we have the cash flow to pay it.
And I don't agree with your assessment either. I mean, you look at where Leesburg was back in 1989 when I moved here. Look where we went, and how far down we ended up because we had a commission that tried to hold on to everything. And then you look at what we're doing. I mean, we're spending money, yes, but we're spending money to replace an 80-year-old pool, you know, that everybody knows that we need and has to be done. We're spending money to revitalize a mall and help them out, which is going to help us economically. The villages don't spend $20 million to build racetracks, and they don't spend them not to build houses. That's their deal, so you can take that to the bank. They're gonna build houses, whether it's in the contract or not. And you start talking about the other things that we've done. You know, we talked about Venetian Gardens, that's been a $10 million project overall. But Lord, I mean, our community center is in a 60-year-old library, you know? I mean, we're talking about putting restaurants on the water to stimulate activity and growth and tourism and, you know, economy getting a boost and more jobs. And so, I mean, we're spending money, yes, but we're spending money that we brought in this time and fashion, and we're putting things in place to help stimulate growth, help stimulate the economy, help stimulate more jobs, so that when the next commission comes up, they'll have an easier task at hand, because everything that we've done is put in place to help get those things ready, and we've done it and paid for it as we went, not leaving with a bunch of debt. So, you know, I think I feel 100% confident in the decisions we've made, and I still think they were the right ones.
Comments? Comments from the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Mayor Roebuck?
No. Okay, on to 5F, if someone would like to
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the City Commission, excuse me, to increase rates to the city's Florida Blue Options Plan and add a new option of Florida Blue Care Plan and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
So Al, could you explain, looks like that things are going up. For employees, we're paying an additional $45 a month. Retirees paying $75 a month, and we're contributing $250,000 extra.
Those are the numbers. If Melissa's here, she can give you a breakdown on how everything's changed, some of the impacts.
I have Jim coming up. Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, and Commissioners. I have Jim Williams also coming up with us to talk about the numbers. The reason for the proposal of an increase is due to the amount of high-cost claims and the impact that it's having on the reserve funds. And so it was a collaborative effort between Finance and HR to come up with a plan to try to mitigate the costs that we're getting hit on in our plan.
Do we have any idea of what percentage of these high-cost claims are coming from retirees?
At this time, we have about, in the last year, had about 20 high-cost claims, and of those, maybe 3 or 4 are from retirees that are under the age of 65. The rest are either employees or their dependents.
It's 20%. And what about dollar figures? Because a high-cost claim could vary between $100,000 and $1 million.
Going back to like May of 2017 to May of 2018, about 1.95 million in high-cost claims.
1.9.
Yes.
So, and I don't have to have it today because it's not really related to this, but more for budget discussions. I'd like to know the number of the high-cost claims that were retirees and the dollar value percentage of that 1.9 that they made up. Because this is something that's not really standard, is covering retirees under a health care plan, especially ones that are eligible for Medicare. I mean, maybe it's standard in government. But, so I think something that I'd like to discuss during budget, but we don't go into tonight.
And one thing I'd just like to suggest, Al, once we get our reserves back, that you come back and look at reducing it. Sometimes when we get to that, raising it, and we kind of stay there and we forget that the reserves are back where they need to be, and let's return back to our employees a more cost-effective health care.
Yeah, but how negative could how negative are they? Because when we opened up the wellness center, we were putting $1.5 million every single year and saving that. We've been doing that continuously for 3 years now. The first time we get a spike up, we want to raise the rates on employees.
The reserves in the fund have gone down about $3 million over the last few years. Rates have gone up steadily. What we're offering here is a second plan that the employees can sign on to at no additional cost. That's why we're bringing the second plan to you. And that would be, so there'll be actually two choices now. We'll have the blue options plan and the blue care plan, which is a different variety of plan. And we have some people here that can address that and give you the specifics on what the differences in those
So
two
in
plans
essence,
are.
we're going to raise the price for decent health care or give them
No,
crappy health care.
No, we have the blue care roadmap. We
yes.
switched years ago. Almost everyone in the world has switched to an HMO because they have to, and there was almost like no disruption. It's not a bad plan
The
at all.
plans are very similar. actually.
I think there's going to be that misnomer, and I think a couple of things here too that employees need to remember. Look, I don't think we like doing this, but for the financial soundness of the plan, we need to do this. Number one, we didn't put a survey in the packets, but we did do a survey of other municipalities. So even including the increase, we're still offering a very competitive health insurance coverage plan for our employees. We're very competitive with the regional cities and the counties when it comes to family coverage, employee-only coverage, and these type of things. Secondly, we still have the option of the healthcare clinic. So if you go to the healthcare clinic, it really doesn't matter whether you have your HMO or your PPO, because you can still get that basic service and then get referred out.
Okay.
So and we're still providing that for free. The third thing is we will be rolling out the HMO and the PPO plans. If the employee elects to stay in the HMO plan, there will be no cost increase to them or the city. If they want to stay in the existing PPO plan, then that is where this cost increase comes. Now, I think there will be the argument amongst the employees that if they have to go to an HMO plan, that's not going to be good health coverage. But I don't think that's the case. I think there can be minor disruptions. I won't deny that. Maybe subtle different costs like $5 on the co-pay issues. But basically, I think you'll find that the networks are still very reasonable, and you can shift over to the HMO plan, still receive good care coverage at the clinic, and still receive, my guess is probably most of your doctors through the networks that we have in this region. So the HMO plan that we'll be rolling out is a reasonable alternative.
And I'm just
And as costs do come back, and it's based on claim experience. So that, that's not a fault of the city. We provide all sorts of options. We provide healthcare, exercise programs where we're deferring these type of things. So it really comes down to the health of employees. And if the unit of the employee becomes healthier, our claims will drop and their costs will drop.
And I was going to suggest to HRL, maybe we do a little lengthier, more education to the employee, because I'm not concerned about the one that makes $70,000. I'm worried about the one that's making $10, $11. So we can educate. I think that's going to also help the city with morale, where you don't say I'm getting a crappier health insurance. So we can just educate all of our employees. Maybe, when we do this 1 week of open enrollment, people wait till the last minute, they rush in, they pick a dentist, pick a plan, then you find out your dentist not on the plan. How do you know that was me? I picked the plan, oh, my dentist don't take that insurance, so now I got to, find a whole nother dentist. So I think if we educate our employees, I think will help with their morale until they realize that I may not be the highest paid employee, but I'm not having to go extra because I can go to the HMO. If we just do just a little lengthier of it, because sometimes supervisors don't relay that information to the employee. Then you got somebody working 100-degree temperature and they're hot and mad and not knowing that all I had to do was just switch HMO to the PPO.
And there will be also a rollout educational plan for the employees. We couldn't do that until it's approved, but we'll get back with employees. We're having mandatory meetings where we'll educate the employees on all the options.
Good.
Yes, I'll be setting up mandatory meetings next week. I'll have Brown & Brown and representatives from Brown & Brown and Blue Cross Blue Shield there to talk to the employees about the new plan and what their options are, answer any questions, and then those representatives will also be at open enrollment. So we'll be having extensive meetings with all of the employees starting next week and possibly the following, just try to get everyone. So we'll definitely give them all that information.
Thank you.
What would our contribution have to be to bring that 45 to 25?
Was it like, are we picking up an extra or the employees are getting, was it 250? Yeah, 250. Yeah, so we're picking up an extra, what was our number that we're picking up?
We're picking up
250.
220, about 250.
And we split it in half. So,
Oh,
so if we wanted to keep the PPO cost the same, we need to pick up another 250,000, spread out across all the funds.
So from my experience going from a PPO to HMO, I'm actually a much bigger fan, because you got to look at it not only in terms of the total cost up front, but then the whole goal is to keep your total claims every year down, so you don't run into this every year. And for us, the HMO was big because really it didn't change the network. You can see the exact same doctors, but you can't just walk into a specialist and say, hey, I want you to see me. You have to have a doctor, which could be the one at the clinic here that you can see anytime, refer you there and say, yeah, you actually have a reason to go to that doctor, as opposed to just, I feel like going to see a specialist today. And, people get used to that pretty quick because that's where most places are. So I would be shocked that, if people understand that you're not going to have a lot of people wanting to pay the extra money, because there really isn't that much difference in the plans. So I think after a year you'll see that you'll especially if, assuming that Brown & Brown does a good job selling it.
Yeah, and actually with the Blue Care, what we tried to do when looking at an HMO was finding something that was comparable to the current PPO that we have. So the Blue Care plan that we chose is very, very close to the Blue Options plan. And as Brown & Brown has explained it to me, that Blue Care plan, you don't even have to have a referral to go and see a specialist on that plan. You do have to pick a primary care physician. You do have to choose that. But then you don't have to, as in the past people thought about HMOs where you had to have a referral to go to a specialist. That's not necessary in this particular plan. So I think as all of that is explained to the employees, they'll see that based on your lifestyle and of course your health and those kinds of things, you have to make a decision, but it's very comparable to the PPO plan that we have.
Any other comments? Comments from the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Hurley?
No.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Roebuck?
Yes. Okay, that is the end of our agenda items. Do we have any? Oh, we have more? Whoops. There's more health insurance. I was just going to skip over it. All right, someone could introduce.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending resolutions 9785, 4152, 4846, and 7537 pertaining to health insurance coverage for Medicare-eligible retired employees, providing the privilege for the payment and the premiums for health care insurance coverage of $400 per month to become portable, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion? If we approve this and then we later decided to quit offering retiree health care benefits, what would happen? Does this lock us into doing this forever?
Yeah, I think ultimately if you decide not to give the 400-month benefit for the retirement plan, then this would go away.
It would go away, but this doesn't lock us into doing this forever.
No, you would have to change the policy.
Okay, make sure I understand, because I think it's a good idea. Okay. Thank you. Any comments from the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Mayor Roebuck?
Yes. Okay, informational reports, city attorney items,
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
city manager items.
I have two quick items. The first item is just to remind everybody about our budget workshops coming up. So on the week of the commission meeting weeks, the 2nd and 4th, on those Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have the budget workshops starting at 5:30. We kick it off to tomorrow with the general fund at 5:30. Just a reminder there. The second one is with reference to the law firm of John Moyle. A few months back, we hired Mr. Moyle to be our special counsel in reference to the gas challenge that was being filed with TICO at the Public Service Commission. I think we set a retainer fund for him for $20,000. We've now exceeded that. We've spent $27,600 to date with Mr. Moyle. So I'd like for you to increase that. The status of that situation is we are looking to have a couple of discussions with TICO, and the Public Service Commission is still processing and looking to file and go over the territorial dispute issue. That court date, I don't believe has been set yet, We filed a series of motions, some denied, some granted, but basically we're still on course, barring a settlement with TICO, to where this case will be before the Public Service Commission. Hopefully we're not before that, and our discussions with TICO will prove hopefully fruitful at the end of this month. But in any case, I would like to increase that retainage, and I think probably somewhere between 75,000 to 100, just so we're not back here every few weeks, unless you want to do it in smaller increments. But we do need to pay Mr. Moyle, and we're about 7,000 over. And ultimately, we do still feel very good about our case. We think that we will prevail in this issue. We're hopeful that we will. And so I think long-term, this is a good investment for us to continue to fight this fight.
Fred, are you monitoring the?
Yes, John involves me in all the decisions, and Al and Jack, and we're all looped into the same communication loop. I think it's going as well as you could expect. Peoples is raising every issue they could possibly dredge up, as you might expect.
Have you reviewed the billing and everything on it?
I haven't seen the billing, but I wouldn't consider 27,000 unreasonable for what he's done so far.
Do you need like a
Yeah, just
vote,
a
or-
motion to increase the Moyle law firm retainage to 75,000.
Where's the money going to just
From gas.
from gas? Okay.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, from gas surplus.
I'm
From
going to make a motion to increase the budget to 100,000.
Second.
discussion?
Gotta win.
And I just want to say, so when people say like, wow, this is a lot of money, where you spend all this money? Once this territory is done and built out, it's like an extra, like $2 million every year to the city.
That
like
number is
money.
that number is $2 million a year based on 15,000 units. The talk now from the village is that 15,000 is going to be 25,000 units. So you're looking at maybe 3.5 to the 3.5 million net a year. So this is a significant advancement. There's even talk that the villages could grow out as much as 50,000 units. So if you're at that number, you're looking at a net number based on our existing financial forecast, somewhere around 5 to 6 million in additional monies. That's net from the gas fund. So, I mean, there could be one day where the gas fund is actually a bigger giver to the city than the electric fund. So this is a significant issue. Jack has, I think we've worked extremely well with the villages on this issue. It's certainly been challenging with the TICO dispute, but we're very hopeful that we'll prevail on this. And we have the safeguards in place with our agreements with the villages that if we do lose, our infrastructure money is refunded to us, and then basically all we're out is my time, Jack's time, Fred's time, and what you spent on Moyle. So this is really a gamble worth taking, and has the end to be a significant benefit for the city of Leesburg.
And I also will clarify for people watching this later that the 50,000 homes are not in Leesburg. That is growth in Lake County, Sumter County, all over. We're just supplying gas. So.
And I know it's probably a little premature, but last year we had a big discussion about the gas department and the rate of pay. So hopefully this year you've considered that, and Jack and his people are taking care of it, because I think as we grow, we're going to need competent, skilled people to grow this 50,000 people. So I guess that's my prelude to the budget. So
Any other discussion? Discussion for the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Mayor Robuck?
Yes. Anything else, Al?
No, that's it.
Okay. Public comments. Section reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. They will be referred to the proper staff or scheduled for consideration at a future city commission meeting, and we'd ask you to limit them to 3 minutes. Any discussion? No? Okay. All right. Roll call.
Commissioner Bone?
Al, I didn't get to catch up with you the other day about the entryway, just real quick. So what are we doing there?
Yeah, I sent an email to the commission, I think Friday afternoon. And by the way, I had called you, left a message. That's what that was about.
Oh, okay.
I got your
Okay.
email back. It's kind of been a circuitous story, but we, in the attempt to celebrate the Gateway project, we contacted the FDOT to see if they would let us do a ribbon cutting. Their initial response was, yeah, no problem, but then kind of started coming the strings. And the biggest string that came along post facto after I got back with the commission to say, hey, let's do this celebration, was the city was being required to close down US 27 from the tip of the fork, like Griffin Road, to just a little bit past the McDonald's there. And with that requirement, it's not going to work. We can't hold up traffic for that. So at the end story was, I think we need to just move on past this. The email I sent to the commission was basically, if FDOT thinks that we need to do that, then maybe it's not as safe as we were hoping. So
We Photoshop us in.
maybe need to be wiser.
When will it be finished? Is everything?
I think we've got a couple more weeks. Is I think the answer is it. Did they finish?
Cut the fronds tomorrow.
Okay.
And then that
Everything else is done.
finishes it up.
Some closeout reports that we have to do with DOT, but all the work on site is done.
What about the letters?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what did we do about the letters?
You can't see the letters. We talked about changing them to black or
light
something. so you
bulbs.
I think it's white. I think it's going to have to be white.
Think so?
I can see
I think
that.
it looks good.
I like the letter.
We've had a bunch. I know the commission talked about this before, about not being able to see the letters. I think it was at a chamber executive board meeting where the feedback we got from the chamber board was, it looks awesome, don't change the letters. So at least our staff thought was, let's get down the road a little bit and see how everything looks all finished off before we change the letters. If ultimately you want to change the letters, we will, but our recommendation is just to hold tight for right now.
I take the B off, then you have to change.
Well, I think
just
I
can't
think
see
the gold
'em. I don't care
letters.
how pretty they are, you can't see them.
Yeah, I think the gold letters look great. You just can't see them. And I did have I've got my 55-year-old cataract eyes here that bother me, but I had my 32-year-old daughter in town over the weekend, and so we were driving by, and I said, "Can you read those letters?" And she said, "No." Has a hard time seeing it. And I've asked other people too. People. I've talked to many people that have a
Yeah, we're
hard time seeing
getting
those.
a mixed bag on that. If you want us to take a look at changing them out, we can certainly do that.
If we could test somehow, because I'm a bit concerned that with the water and the sunlight, is there going to be a super visible one? There might be, and if so, that's great. But
It looks good. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I have trouble seeing it, and I think some other people do too. But there's other times. There's it's almost like the Indiana Jones thing, like that certain time when the light hits it just right, it looks beautiful. But you got to be there at that time of the day when it happens. So,
Well, water's bright, the lights are bright, the sun's bright, black letters, well, they're the opposite.
so that was another question I had there. So I just want to be clear. I wasn't saying get rid of the fire department earlier. I was just making a comparison of what would happen if we didn't have it and what the rates would be.
David commercial done ran out in the store,
Yeah.
man.
But I want to, because the mayor's talking about, when we start talking about the insurance, I mean, these benefits, that are being provided to our employees are things that are important to them and to their families. It's important to an employee that's going to, that knows one day they're going to retire, and they look forward to that day, and it's one of the benefits of working for a city that they're going to have those continuing benefits afterwards. And so at the same time, we're talking about spending all this money and how we don't borrow money, and we're doing all these great projects, which are great and nice. We talk about, we hint at cutting benefits to employees, and I think that some of our departments are understaffed, and that's a city manager thing, and I know he listens to us, and he tries to bring back a budget that's, that everybody's operating within the budget that we have, that we can do the projects. But probably if you talk to some departments, they probably feel that they're understaffed, and their crews are working on with 3 people versus 4 people or whatever, and and then we continue to have to be competitive with the salaries that we pay our employees, and I think there's a benefit to the city when we pay our employees as well as we can afford to pay them, because then if we get good employees, they're happy at work, and hopefully they're going to put some of that money back into our economy, and whether it's at the restaurants or shopping at the mall, that they'll have more money as well. So when I talk about about revenue for the city, whether it's fire assessment or whatever it may be. I'm looking at bigger. The full picture is what I'm looking at, whether it's projects, it's our employees, it's our retirement benefits, or whatever it may be. But I hope that we can keep our employees happy and the morale high there, and continue to have good workers there. So the other thing is that I'll just mention Commissioner Christian was in Indianapolis, I guess, and saw some food trucks that seemed, all of a sudden it sounded like a good idea to do, maybe have something like that in Leesburg. So I know I don't have the support on this, but again, and I'm not saying take food trucks to Venetian Gardens, but I think the concept of having multiple smaller restaurants there versus a bigger restaurant is a concept and an idea that again, people say different things, but there's a lot of people that kind of like that idea, and it's a more trendy thing to have that. You have lower cost, and it's more affordable for a greater number of people to be able to go to smaller restaurants with smaller overhead than to go to a bigger restaurant. And I think particularly in the city that we have with the lower income, that would make that more available to more people here in Leesburg, and also be a reason for people to come from other cities around us to go down there. But I brought that up because you did see the food trucks, but don't let that be misinterpreted to say I said put food trucks at Venetian Gardens. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about several small.
A lot of backpedaling tonight.
No, it's not backpedaling. Just to be clear, there's a permanent. There are a lot of cities that do a permanent small, 600 square foot, restaurants with outdoor seating, and you could do a big courtyard on the lake out there and serve all different types of food at $10 a plate. I think. That's all I have tonight.
Maybe we could put bigger bridges to the islands, put food trucks on their islands.
Commissioner Christian?
Commissioner Bob was in Indianapolis and walked out on Friday lunchtime, and it was about 10 food trucks lined up side by side. It was just a great concept. I know we do the food and movie nights, but a young man in Leesburg just purchased his brand new food truck, and he was so excited about it. So I tagged him, let him see what was happening in other parts of our country. But I think it's a great idea, a great concept. When we have different activities, we can actually bring people to a central location, wherever that location is, where we give entrepreneurs an opportunity to expand their business, whether it be downtown, Venetian Gardens, the mall, different areas. We can actually say, hey, this Friday at 12 o'clock, bring your food truck, and people from the city hall come out, get a shrimp dinner. They had all kind of different type of cuisine. So I think that's something that we can just look at, making Leesburg another splash on a Friday or Saturday afternoon. That, well, we got employment, so people can actually come out Romac Lund. We can just say, hey, come down Main Street, where people can come out lunchtime. Settle, look on this side of town. There's really no restaurants on this side of town except downtown, and most people get an hour lunch. So I think we could create that synergy. So that was just one thing I did post on Facebook. Commissioner Bone, I've seen it, but I think Al's doing a phenomenal job with the city as we move in the budget. Kind of kudos to Commissioner Bone and saying, take care of our employees, make sure we don't have a high turnover. We can afford to do. We have departments that are doing really well. Some have been on a shoestring budget. So I encourage the city manager to look through the city to see which departments need help as we grow. I think some departments you have skilled positions where they leave to go to other cities. It's going to be hard to get them to come back. And as we start to grow, last thing I want to be is to have some issues to go to the county. Some cities that I work with, it takes a very long time to get a permit passed and something approved. But I can say that our staff, I made a phone call, getting ready to do another business. I called our fire inspector. He said, want me to come out and give you a snapshot of what you need? And I thought that was probably one of the most profound things that this guy told me on his lunch break. I'm going to come out and look at your building just to see what you need to do. So I think if that's going throughout the city, I think Al, your staff is doing a wonderful job and make sure businesses understand Leesburg is a business-friendly city. So I just want to commend your staff on just coming to see. Make me feel good because I said I'm good. So I didn't have to spend $3,000 to get ready. So I do want to commend your staff on that. That's all I have to say.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yeah, I got just a few things. As far as 4th of July, I want to just commend the the city and Leesburg partnership. I mean, again, it was a spectacular fireworks. It was great activity. Travis and his family was out there again, served ice cream and did all those kinds of things. Had a lot of attendance, and even though there was a little disruption on parking, it still was a packed house, and I think it went off with a bang this time, and it was just really good. So I want to say thank you to everybody who made that happen, and I hope all of the citizens enjoyed it. As far as the fire assessment fee, I want to make sure. I mean, I was here. I remember the fight we had to implement the thing, and the reason for that was because public safety takes such a large drain off of the general fund. I mean, it just does. And while I don't ever think that we need to necessarily base ourselves on what other communities are doing, but I do think that if small incremental increases are necessary to make sure that the coverage is still there. We have some of the best fire ratings. I think where's fire chief at? But are we at 1 right now? 2?
I think our ISO was 2.
2. And we still need growth in the fire department. We know that that's going to be a demand for sure. Once the villages starts in, we're still running that firehouse with 2. So, I think that we need to be, this year we didn't raise it, but we might need to be mindful that, what are we charging a household right now? $58. So, if it went up to $62, somebody paid 20 cents a month, I just don't think that would be ridiculous. But I think we should be open-minded to make sure we keep the level of fire coverage that we have for our citizens, and so that their insurance rates stay down, and that, when you call a fireman, there's usually a problem. So I like to know that the best is showing up. And then I just want to put it this way. I mean, I kind of agree with what Commissioner Bones said tonight, and also Commissioner Christian, but I mean, we spend a lot of money, and we have some departments who are our bigger departments, electric department, for example, gas department's fixing to be apparently, and we have some departments that are very large, and they also bring in a large sum of revenue, which doesn't obviously get to trickle down into the general fund. But we have a lot of employees in that $10 to $13 range, and while $45 to us doesn't seem like a lot of money a month, for some people that's 10% of their paycheck that we just increased them on top of what they're already paying for insurance. And so I understand the coverage. If the coverage ends up being good, then I'll hold my tongue. But if we don't provide good coverage, I think that it's pretty sad that we're going to put that kind of burden on people who are doing paycheck to paycheck living, putting another 10% of their pay just trying to have coverage that would give them protection so they don't have to come out of the wallet hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we obviously are doing enough capital improvements in other positions that we can afford to pitch in a little bit more, and other departments can raise their percentage of increase to help offset that. So I believe in taking care of our employees, and I'll never vote to, I think, and I don't want to get on this, we'll talk about it more in budget, but I agree with Commissioner Bone, man. If I work 40 years and you tell me you're going to give me something, by God, give it to me when I get through. And when I die, you can cancel that program. But if somebody worked here with a promise that we're going to do something, then we're going to cut it to save a couple bucks, I don't agree with that at all. So there you have my happies and my downs.
Commissioner Dennison?
Being last on the list now, just about everything has been said, so I think I will pass tonight. Thank you.
Mayor Roebuck?
I guess it's come up that the county's changing the way, kind of what they think we can do with our DSO money in terms of prior projects. And I was just, Fred, is that something we can get an Attorney General's opinion on? Because I think there's some question about whether the county knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's always available option. Takes a while to get one.
Yeah, I know. We won't fix it this year, but I think it's something we should consider. They're trying to say we can't use it for any of the old projects that we used it for, so.
Yeah, I frankly didn't understand that interpretation either. I was scratching my head when I saw it.
I don't think it's worth spending. I mean, because it doesn't really, if it's not worth spending money to challenge them on it, but if we can get ask for an opinion. And then the other thing, I understand the need to offer both competitive salary and benefits, and I've pushed to address in the past specific positions with raises where I felt that the market deserved it. But at the same time, we have to remember that we are spending our citizens' money. It is their money, and we have to be in mind of what the market bears, and we can be better than the market. And I don't know where we are, and that are my questions about healthcare. What I don't want to do is, and I think governments have to be careful about getting into a position where all of a sudden they never adjust and they have a benefit that's 4 times richer than anyone else is doing. And I don't know that we're in that position, but that's my question is, where are we? Let's make sure, and I agree, you don't take away something from someone, but going forward, we need to always be questioning, is what we're doing competitive, and not get to the point where, are we spending so much money in benefits that we can't give raises when people would rather have a raise? And I don't know those answers, but I don't think it's something that maybe we spend enough time looking at. So that's where I'm really coming from, is I want to take a look kind of at a whole compensation package and make sure we're competitive in all areas. So that's where that was coming from. So with that, meeting adjourned.
Have a good night, man.